So
I'll be ready.
you're on the record.
You ready?
Just 1 second, sir. So
I'll be ready.
you're on the record.
You ready?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we're on live whenever you're ready for the meeting to start.
Okay. Great, welcome. It's 1 o'clock and we'll start our, I guess, what do we call this? An emergency meeting to discuss the
The workshop, Mr. Mayor.
workshop for federal funding earmarks. Do you want to call the roll?
All council members are present, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I called this meeting for one reason, a very specific reason. Shannon, we had found out that the federal government may be issuing earmarks like they used to for local projects. And there evidently is a relatively tight deadline. I believe, I don't exactly know what it is. The manager will enlighten us, probably by the end of March or soon after that. And so this meeting is to discuss that. I just want to make clear to anybody that's watching, this meeting is not about any of the money that we would be receiving from the Biden administration.
American Rescue Act.
Yeah, the American Rescue Act. It's not about that or any of the projects that we might be able to spend that money on. There's not necessarily a hurry with that. We're still doing our research on the projects, and we'll have ample time to discuss that at the council meeting in April, May, and if we need others, we can do that as well. So we have time to do that. We're still researching it. This is about what we would potentially want to go after relative to any new federal spending that is not related to COVID. The one thing I would want to say is relative to the water project, I would say until that project is completed, it is still a priority for us. So if we wanted to seek money from the state or federal government for that, we should still seek that money through these other processes, whatever the state funding is, or the quote unquote earmark. So with that, I'll turn it over to the manager and you can explain where we are.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, what we have learned through a notification that came from the National League of Cities is that it seems that there's a move in the federal government to reinstate what we used to call earmarks. They're calling it community projects. Okay. Based on that notification that came from the National League of Cities, it implied that the turnaround time to submit any community project requests would be, in essence, over the next couple of weeks. So, there should be forms coming out. And then, whatever guidance our federal representatives can give us, we should try to coordinate with them. In preparation for this workshop, my intent was that council have a discussion of what were the projects that we might want to seek potential earmarks for or community project funds for. We've invited a representative from Representative Salazar's office to participate to kind of help guide us through that process, at least where we're at right now, and maybe shed some light on timing issues. And I don't know if they're in the waiting room, Guido, they're not. We'll reach out to them to see when they come on board. But the presumption is that we have a very short window to submit based on just what I've heard through the rumoring that's going around, is that these projects are likely gonna provide maybe $1 million maximum per project. I've heard that, and for those of you that maybe have seen the stuff that came out from the National League of Cities, correctly if I'm wrong, if anything I'm saying, that there's like a limit to maybe 2 projects per municipality, because each member has a limit of 10 projects that they would be able to submit. So the presumption is that congressional member will obviously be submitting on behalf of multiple municipalities at the same time, and they only have the ability to present 10 projects for each member. So with that said, we have just, limit. And the question is, what would you all like to kind of go after? There's a lot of different ideas. I've been talking to each of you behind the scenes, so I just wanted to facilitate that discussion amongst yourselves, to see if there's any, equal ground that we can get into, and just prioritize which ones we want to go after.
In our strategic plan, do we already have issues that we were wanting to focus on anyway, right? As we were going to lobby to the county, we're going to lobby for water. Are we looking at stormwater? Are we looking at conversion of septic? Do we have
There's
issues?
a lot of different things, right? There's, for example, we have all kinds of capital project needs. Obviously, we have everything that's happening in the Upper Garden and things that we have in the future plan for Upper Garden. There's things that we have, off the top of my head, $40 million worth of stormwater drainage needs in the village identified by the Stormwater Master Plan. We have obviously the water that, everybody knows about. There's, we just bought the Palermo property. So, at some point that might get developed. So there's all kinds of things that we can go after. The question, and what I was hoping was that we can maybe work with Congresswoman Salazar's office and ask them to give us some guidance. There might be some projects that they would like to explore. And if we can find synergy, that we, just get on that same page with them and they facilitate that for us. Katie, have you by chance heard from that gentleman from her
No,
office?
I just tried to contact him. He hasn't written back yet. So.
Okay. So thoughts on projects? Is there anything? And obviously, if we're going to go after and go through that process, the second part of the conversation is that the need for me to kind of reinstate lobbyists to help us with all that paperwork and just to maneuver that that process at the federal level. So in anticipation of this workshop, just to let you know, I did seek proposals from 3 different lobbying groups. Alcalde and Fay, which traditionally has been our federal lobbyist, Becker Polyakov, who has Omar Franco up in Washington, and then a gentleman named Jim Davenport that was recommended. He's the lobbyist for Key Biscayne. They all provided proposals, and the Becker Polyakov and Jim Davenport proposals were at $5,000 a month as a retainer fee, and Alcalde came in at $4,000. So I would, if we're going to do and reinstate federal lobbyists, I would recommend reinstating our former federal lobbyist, Alcalde and Fay, to help us move this along. So with that said, I'll turn that over.
At $4,000 a month, that falls under the limit where you can proceed to contract those services without approval of council. Is that correct?
I still needed 3 quotes because I'm allowed to.
But you're allowed to without.
Because the other 2 quotes came in higher than 50,000. Technically, I would have to put it out to bid. So when this comes to council for approval, it will be waiving competitive bid.
Okay, I understand.
Because 2 of them came in higher than 50,000.
Got it. So, I mean, as just a starting off point, I would say I wouldn't be particularly interested in pursuing money for projects that haven't been thoroughly visioned, charretted, and strategically planned. So, for example,
Palermo,
there's nothing there, and I wouldn't want to create something out of thin air. I wouldn't want to acquire additional properties that would then have the village be compelled to service, maintain, et cetera, additional properties. So frankly, I think that's off the table because that's a long-term strategic financial decision you can't make on the fly. I would be more interested in pursuing things that are, already established infrastructure deficiencies like stormwater. I think we have a master plan, which is updated frequently. We have, good numbers for stormwater, and the stormwater number globally is 180% of our annual operating budget. And so anything we can get into that pot would be a huge help to us.
We have a stormwater plan that's been fully vetted, right? And we're working on projects on that, right?
Yeah, our stormwater master plan was adopted at least 4 years ago, I want to say, and we've been working towards completing the projects. There were $12 million worth of priority projects in the stormwater master plan that we, based on what we collect from the stormwater utility, we anticipate would take us about 10 years to complete that priority list. But then there was an additional, 30-something thousand, $1 million worth of non-priority projects that were also identified. So anything we can get to build, to bring that down and get us closer to completing those projects is fine. That would work.
I read in a summary that Sidley and Austin put out that any CPR that will be funded has to be completed. Any project that'll be funded under the CPR has to be completed between October 1st, 2021 and September 30th, 2022. So I agree with Anna that it should be something that's already established and, that we're already on the way with.
Right, yeah, any drainage projects, those are, individual small projects that we can quickly have plans drawn up for, and then we would, immediately award construction and move it. So we can definitely meet the timing of that and that project. The other projects that obviously we can meet that kind of timing turnaround is anything we're doing in the upper garden, just because we're in the midst of construction right now. And I just don't know if that's, sexy enough, like for the to get support by our congressperson, who's always going to have to advocate on behalf of that. So I would have liked to have had them available to answer questions and to kind of get a feel. But I suppose we can have our lobbyists look at that as well.
I think that's a good choice because it enjoys greater community support, not only Pinecrest. It has demonstrated community support. The inclusivity of it, I think that's something that residents value. The educational component, I think it's a good idea.
So, we have a huge number of projects that we can do, and we can, as Shannon pointed out, complete quickly. And that we have already written grants for. So the paperwork is very much a copy-paste procedure. So it would seem to me that that's another avenue which may have a chance of success. Again, it depends on how much oomph the Congresswoman's office wants to put behind any of our particular projects. But we might as well present something that's nicely packaged and easy to understand and digest.
One approach can be that we just give them, a laundry list of potential projects and tell them which ones do you want us to submit, like which ones do you feel would be more apt to be successful. Because really, I don't know, unless there's a real preference for you, I know, for you guys to go after specific, but the limit on what, the fact that potentially, based on my understanding, we can only get 2 projects max. And it's also my understanding they're going to establish or reestablish the earmark process, because this is how it used to be back before 2007, and every year you could actually pitch different projects. So this will be, if this is what I think it is, they'll reestablish that, and it'll forever, go back to being the normal course of business where you can lobby every year for XYZ to get these earmarks put in. It seems like that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like the list idea because, and forgive me if you mentioned this, because I was trying to call Daniel, who says he's going to join us, but we'll see.
Is he on the council?
He is
He's there.
Representative Salazar's director.
He's there.
Oh, okay, great.
He just put in the
Right, I'll
chat.
save my thought.
Oh, Daniel Leite Vidal, he's here. Welcome.
Would you like to hear from him in the
Yes,
meeting?
please.
Who are we hearing from? Oh, gotcha.
From Congresswoman Salazar's office. Hi, Daniel. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Let me, hey, how's everyone doing?
Good. How
Good,
are
sir.
you?
How are you? Oh,
Hey, you guys so much for having me. It's we're a new office, so we're having our internet finally installed because we work at the pace of the federal government. So it was working all day until about 1, and then 1 we apparently overloaded our systems. So I'm now on a hotspot.
That's
So,
fantastic.
so we just make it happen, whatever is necessary.
Thank you for joining us, Daniel, agreeing to join us. So just to bring you up to date on what we were talking about, I was kind of trying to brief the council, and as much as I knew about the community projects that we what basically started this discussion was we received notification through the National League of Cities of the fact that there's this new old initiative that was being brought back, the old earmarks, now they call it community projects. And based on the notice that they sent from the league, they were saying that the turnaround time was really quick, within a week or 2 of having to submit projects to the members for consideration. So we quickly put this together to try to get everybody on the same page as far as what we might try to pitch to the Congresswoman. So we wanted to, I don't know how much and how up to date you are with all the stuff and all the needs from the village, but we were talking about what we might go after, but hopefully you can shed some light as to the process. We were thinking of maybe doing a laundry list of projects and pitching them to her and see which ones maybe she has more affinity to, or can give us some guidance on what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can hear you.
All right, perfect. My computer's frozen, but as long as this works.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, thank you guys so much. So this is something that we just found out about 2 weeks ago, and it's one of the interesting pieces of Congress where just years ago this was never in existence. So I've worked for Congress now for like about 6+ years. We've never had earmarks, so this is the first time we're getting them back in a very long time. I think I might have gone. I'm here. So this is also our team, and almost all the Hill is relearning the processes. So we actually have trainings today, and we have trainings on Monday to figure out exactly how we're going to be doing it. So I know I met with Katie, and we had a fantastic meeting. So I know some of the priorities, but I think getting a laundry list of what we can do. I always tell everyone, ask for as many things as you want, and then we'll see what we can necessarily get, because to the top right now. I would be lying if you weren't the first village to reach out to me today. So everyone's trying to get their ropes, and everyone's trying to get their money in. So create as much as you want. We can meet. Since this is something that's moving very quickly, I'm okay with meeting you guys anywhere over the weekend. My chief of staff is in town too. So I think it'd be fantastic if we could all get together and just kind of go over this very quickly. And we would include my legislative director on anything we're doing moving forward, because he's really the guy. He's the guy that, where the sausage is made. I'm just the face. Okay.
So do you have any idea if there's limits? Because I had heard that it was going to be like $1,000, $1 million limit per project, or it doesn't matter. Do you know?
So I've heard different things. It depends on what committee is being pushed through. So it depends on what project you guys are looking for.
Okay, so when we submit the laundry list, I guess is maybe the approach of different possible scenarios. We can give you like wish list, like if we can get everything.
Give me. Yeah, I know it's denominational. Give me a Christmas list of everything you guys want, and then we'll go through it and we'll see what we can do to help you guys out. That way, I always tell people what I find the most from anyone is they didn't get it because they didn't ask. Right. As long as we're aware of it, we're working on it for you guys, and whatever we could do to be helpful in every case, we will. So, and we'll be pretty honest about what we can and can't do. Like, I know certain T&I projects have to be submitted April 16th, but that's specifically T&I committee. So there's different committees that have different things going on, and we're learning it at the same pace.
Traffic and infrastructure. Traffic and
transportation
infrastructure.
Yeah. And then we have one of our neighbors, Jimenez, is on that. So we have good South Florida push on that, and then we have Diaz-Balart on approach. So we have a lot of really good stuff, and whatever you guys send us, we'll work with everyone just to get it done.
Okay, are most of these usually typically back in the day, I haven't done this in, like you said, a long time, the infrastructure, the earmarks that were mostly for infrastructure. I mean, very rarely I can think of asking for big money for something that wasn't infrastructure, right? Or do you see
Can you repeat that?
that when you ask for money, it's mostly gonna be infrastructure projects, right? Like hard costs.
It, it tends to be those hard costs. It tends to be like, it could.
Oh. Either we lost him.
Yossi, I think that there were several criteria beyond infrastructure. I'm looking for the article that I saw.
Okay.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I was actually on the House website, and so I read in most of the sections the letters to the congressman.
Your colleague letter, right?
And then I went in and read the descriptions about how to submit the paperwork and what they were referencing. And so it's really not quite as slush fundy as it seems to sound. They have clear preferences and they have caps for some kinds of programmatic and language changes, earmarks, that are different from for community programs and for governments, direct to government. So I think it's really not that deep, but if we've got a laundry list, probably our staff can read those instructions. They're like 4 and 5 page instruction documents. These are not complicated.
While I wait for him to come back, the different categories are agriculture, rural development, food and drug administration. Another category, commerce, justice, science, and related agencies. Another one, defense. Another one, energy and water development. Another one, financial services and general government. Homeland security, interior, environment, and related agencies. Labor, health, and human services, education. Legislative branch, military construction, state, foreign operations, and related programs. So there's a dear colleague letter under each one of these that explains.
Can you send me that link so I could look at it? Because it just saw as we're waiting for this gentleman to hopefully be able to dial back in. Like just thinking for Homeland Security stuff, there might be something that we haven't done to our facilities to make them more secure or whatever. That might be something we can come up with. I just need to kind of know.
But what seems to be important in almost all of the categories, to be frank, was the individual congressperson has to write a letter supporting and prioritizing these 10 items. And then to give added heft to requests for the earmarks, you can submit letters of support from other congresspeople. So for example, if we had something that was more regional, maybe stormwater, because flooding and water management is such an issue in South Florida, if we could get that letter from Congresswoman Salazar's office and also letters of support from Congressman Diaz-Balart or Congressman Jimenez, that would hypothetically add heft to the potential of getting funds.
Sorry, Daniel, we lost you.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's like it's one of those work days. Thank you. No, but I heard Ms. Hawkhammer 100%. We get us the projects. We'll get the letter of support, and then we'll try to reach out to our neighbors as well. And we have a very gifted team up in Washington, D.C., so they know who the right people are to get things done. We're freshmen, but all of our DC team is veteran, so we know where to go. So once you guys get those over to us, the easiest thing always, and this is if for the attorneys or for whoever, is to give us a draft of what you guys want, and then we'll edit it in the way that's easiest for us. And that way we get it through the ethics process, and then we go ahead and we make the request.
Okay, Daniel, and I don't know if you were on. I don't think you were on the call when we talked about that these, I'm just going to call them earmarks, the community projects, that you have to have them finished by September 30. Was it September 30th, 2022? That's a caveat, or you don't know?
Yes.
I don't know. It should be, but it could change. Everything has changed in the last 2 weeks. So anything that we have heard could be moved up, could be moved back. The one thing I will say about this Congress is I would try to get everything in way earlier than that, just because we could be setting up dates and they could be earlier. I'm not sure though.
The letters of the instructions that I read on the portal were very clear that this was only to be spent during fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
any other lingering questions from council? So we'll submit something like our wish list, a laundry list of things, and then, we can double back with staff in your office to see, what the Congresswoman thinks would be the better projects that she wants to advocate for, I
So
think.
we'll do it two ways, right? Give us your 1, 2, 3, 4, and I know it's hard to pick which projects are the most important, but instead of us telling you guys what we think is the most important, you guys tell us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll match that into what's possible, right? So we'll match that to my boss calls it the art of the possible. So maybe 1 may not, but 2 is. We'll pick it and we'll go on your priority list on whatever you guys want.
Okay. Councilmember Del Prado was reading that there's like all these different categories. So should we try to go through those categories, and anything that fits those categories is how we would submit to you, or how do you?
That's how I would do it. I would try to break them up and like that, but then I would also have a separate list. So I'd have, by category, but I would have your principal, right? So whenever we do our nominations process, it's principal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sometimes you get 5, but that way we know. Because I don't want to separate them just by category, because we may be picking the category. It may be your 10 on the real list, but it's the number 1 on the first thing we read. So it's better if we have them separated like that.
Okay.
Daniel, question for you. Any issue that is especially dear to Representative Salazar's heart that you think, it's something that she would be enthused about? It would really give
So it's so environment. Anything that we could do to help. I know that most of our city, we have a very unique district, as you guys know. We don't have any part of our district that doesn't touch the water, really. All of our cities all have waterfront. So any environmental projects, I know it's not a sexy issue, but the sewer issue, it's what we are interested in are the things that are not necessarily the sexiest of the issues. So if we could fix stuff for the future, if we could fix environment and T&I, really is our main 2 things. Because our other priorities are immigration. We're not going to fix immigration through the village of Pinecrest, right? So let's concentrate on what we can do.
Yeah, the biggest, based on what I've heard from council, just in leading up to this meeting, the majority of our needs are infrastructure, like what you suggest. And then we have a lot of work going on right now at Pinecrest Gardens, which is obviously a historical location. There's a lot of capital needs there to kind of bring the whole place up to ADA compliance. So
Councilwoman Abbott sent me on a goose chase through there to check out all the work that they're doing. It's, I grew up in Pinecrest, just so you guys know. So that's Parrot Jungle to me. It's like right by Rock Lake on 136. So I'm from the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I get it. But it's a it's put together a list. We'll go through them and we'll sit down with our LD. And this is one of those things that if we do it sooner than later is always better, because you have this mad scramble of 435 members all getting all their projects in. And this is the first time that everyone's doing this in a very long time. So and also it's very different than the earmarks. Right now it even has a different name. So the sooner we have everything ready, the sooner we can figure out how to do it, and we can get proficient and good at this. And then we'll make sure that we have everything set.
Do you guys have forms already that you want us to kind of fill out for you and get that going, or?
Not yet. I have to talk to my LD about it and see where we are with it. But this is something it's something that we've talked about every single day since it's come out.
Okay.
And we're just figuring it out as much as we can, because like I said, they're literally working overtime to figure this out.
Okay, great. All right, I don't know that I have any other questions, Mayor, if anybody else does.
I just have a quick one, Daniel. I know that obviously this is coming at you quickly, and I know some people have already posted on their website instructions and forms, and I know the manager just asked you about the forms. Is there anyone's website that you think we could go to just to take a peek and see what the instructions are that you might be modeling after?
So let me get back to you on that one. I'll get back to, and I don't know, is there someone that's going to lead point on this that I get back to, or who should I respond to?
Me, the manager.
Okay, so I will get back to you directly about that, and give me just a little bit of time, and I'll get back to you probably at the end of the day.
Perfect.
That way we'll make it easy.
All right, I don't know if you have my email, but I'll put it into the chat so you have it.
No, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Can I ask Daniel a question? Are you related to Dr. Leti Vidal, the principal?
Marlene, yeah, she's fantastic. It's funny. Everyone thinks that she's my mom, but she's my cousin. And everyone, her husband, so my father was a judge, her son's a lawyer. So everyone thinks that my cousin's son is him. So they confuse the parents all the time. So it's pretty funny. No, but she's fantastic. I love her. She's like the meanest, nicest elementary school principal in the history of the world.
Yeah, she was my kid's principal at Sunset.
You know, it's very rare you find someone that no one says anything bad about. She's one of those. So I'm proud of the Lady Vidal name there. And I have your email now. So let me get back on that and I will email you guys later. You guys want me to stick around in the background or?
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna be talking about, now, I think council needs to discuss the project, so you can stick around, at least know what the projects are that might be coming your way.
Yeah, if you guys are okay with it, I wouldn't mind just putting it myself on mute, just hanging out in the background, just so I could overhear. It's probably the easiest way also for me to learn about everything that you guys are doing just in one fell swoop.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure the mayor will be fine with
You're
that.
welcome to be
All right,
here.
thank you. I'm gonna stick around, so if you need anything, just shout out. I'm just gonna take the video off.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Daniel.
you.
Thanks, Daniel.
All right, Yossi, what else do you need from us?
Okay, no, so the projects, I'll put together a list of the things that are all already identified in our strategic planning stuff, and I'll try to like match it up with the categories. So then the next, obviously you can't take action formally today, but if you give me your, overall consensus, I'll go ahead and approach the Caldane Fay person. Danielle McBeth, by the way, who was the person we're all used to working with, left the firm, so we'll be working with a new person, but obviously they're very capable, so I'll work with them to start putting together the white papers that we're going to submit to the congressperson, and I'll look at all the categories, trying to match. If you look at the categories and you could think of anything that you think we should throw in there, just send me an email. I'll make sure to include it as well. Now, as far as prioritizing, if we're gonna do like top 4, my thinking is, aside from anything that might come through a water issue, we would do stormwater drainage. We would do anything for Pinecrest Gardens. Do you guys want to talk about potentially doing sewer to any of our facilities like Pinecrest Gardens? Do you think that that might be something, even though technically that's not something we've had in our strategic plan? I just know that we've thought about it in the past, but because we were trying a lot of the stuff that we're doing there, like now we have to do septic systems, but if we had sewer, that
But
would
we don't have anywhere to connect them to, do we?
the closest sewer line to Pinecrest Gardens is at Fort Phillies Farm. And I know just from years ago, I asked Mark to give me a price of what it would cost to extend that line. I think my recollection serves me right, it was like 300 to 350,000 to extend that sewer line from Fort Phillies all the way to.
What I'm saying is, last I heard from the county, they were not allowing new hookups. They don't have treatment capacity. So even if you build it, you cannot connect it because they can't take on any more capacity.
I don't know.
Right.
No.
You know what? I think I also
the sewer to nowhere is what I'm saying.
think that our sewer project is an idea, and we haven't vetted it through. We just don't know the details. I mean, Anna brings up a good point. We can't even hook it up. We may not be able to hook it to anything. So I guess maybe we should keep that on the back burner and spend the rest of the year researching that. And we're going to have to, again, lobby the county for that because we got to get off these septic systems. I always thought that after we completed the water project, we would be able to move on to the sewer project, which has got to be over $100 million worth of cost. And we just simply couldn't behave like we're behaving with water. We never peck away at it.
No, that's a huge project.
Yeah, it's a huge project. So we're going to have to continue with our lobbying efforts at the county to see how we can get that done over time. So I think we should advance that over the course of the year, but I don't know if it'll go in this package that we're submitting to the.
And just sort of piggybacking environmental stuff. Well, one of the things we just put into, or I should say doubled down on our strategic plan was going solar everywhere we could on village facilities.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So if that's something that can,
I even have quotes already for the solar on our municipal center.
execute it by the end of 2022 anyway, that would be something that's.
We have it. We already have everything ready to go. Let me make a note.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yossi, is, for example, the Inspiration Center built for solar conversion? Is it going to have those capabilities or?
No, we have LED capabilities, so it'll be, it'll have green components built into it. We didn't put solar panels because the garden, by the nature of the garden, it has a lot of canopy and that interferes with panels. And in addition to that, because it's a historically designated location from an aesthetic perspective, because we've looked at that, but it starts to create issues where it changes it doesn't look like it's been there since 1935, which is really what we're trying to kind of achieve. So, but definitely the municipal center, putting solar on municipal centers, I'll look at that because that's a big, off the top of my head, I think that was like a $300,000 price tag for that project. So that's a good one. So we have the storm drainage.
And sorry to interrupt, guys, because I just called the mayor's office. Can someone send me an email asking about the sewer hookup? I just called one of the aides and she told me, she's like, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll get you guys an answer. So if you guys can put in a request, I'll find out as soon as possible. I'll figure out what's going on with that, because if we can do it, you should do it. And I don't know the answer, and I think it's a great point that you could build it, but if the county's not ready for it, it's just not feasible. So we'll find out for you guys.
Okay. So stormwater, historical PG stuff, ADA stuff, and then solar capacity for municipal center. Anything else? Anybody? I heard also, and Daniel might be able to chime in, down the pipeline, there's going to be also money coming for transportation. I don't know if we can get into anything that's transportation related, but I've heard that after this, that'll be also up for discussion.
Are you referring to the BRT projects or?
I don't know. I heard something that had to do with a push to spend, I don't know how much money. There was going to be another bill, maybe not this time around, but in the future. So I just want to put that on the radar that there might be transportation.
So there will be a major transportation project coming out from the administration. So we'll keep an eye on that for you guys.
But that's mostly going to be for what, mass transit kind of stuff?
It'll be a full gamut of everything. It'll be kind of like an omnibus. It'll have a bunch of stuff in it, but once we go through it, we're flagging it. So once we have a better answer for you guys, we'll let you know. Okay,
and I'm gonna, Daniel, offline, I will pitch an idea that I haven't pitched to the council yet, which is to try to do like autonomous vehicles. I saw an interesting commercial for the Tokyo Olympics that had an autonomous vehicle that picked somebody up and took them to the stadium. And I always thought that because we're not an urban area that's really dense, that if we could have autonomous vehicles that do the last mile approach to get people to the BRT or to the transit stations in Pinecrest, that we're small enough that we could potentially be able to do that and accomplish that. So just want to put that on her radar. It's one of my dream projects that I haven't even gotten through council.
Sounds like the Jetsons.
I know, that's why. Okay, storm drain, historical PG, solar, maybe sewer hookup. I have a question mark. I'll follow back that up with the council. I'm going to look at anything that has to do with homeland security, like that sort of technology. Maybe some potentially, at Pinecrest Gardens, since we have a lot of areas in Pinecrest Gardens, like maybe something that helps us monitor in case there's some kind of active shooter.
Well, certainly we have, again, something that's quick to pull the trigger on. We have phase 3 of the LPRs.
That's true.
Phase 3 of the LPRs. I got to see if that falls into any category that's available. Phase 3. Was there anything that from the categories that you read that you think that'll fit into?
I would think Homeland Security.
Maybe.
Have they caught more than the one car this whole time?
I don't know. I haven't looked at what they've done.
Right.
I mean, I'm just wondering its value.
Plus and once we build that, we can always then go back and look at expanding the LPRs and adding them to more locations. And the first phase, this will be the phase 3, which will complete that original set of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
The only other big ticket items that I can think of are to replace all the mastheads in the village. Right now, the county is responsible for them, but they're not replacing them. They're just like repairing them. Some of those mastheads have been there for, past 40 years. So I don't know. That's the only.
What are you talking about?
The mast arms and the mast poles at the
Just-
intersections that are inside the village. You know how we wanted to upgrade those, like when you go to Key Biscayne, they're all really nice colored, nice mastheads. We tried to get the county to allow us to paint them, and they said if you paint them, you own them. Then we tried to wrap them. They said the same thing, so we're still arguing with the county. And I was like, well, what if you just, put it on your replacement schedule and we'll just pay the upcharge to make them nicer. But now they tell us they're not going to replace those anytime soon. So they're over 40, 50 years old in some cases. I'm just throwing ideas out there. There's also the US 1 corridor landscape improvements. That's $3.5 million of project if we go forward with that. That would do irrigation to the median. It would do new light poles like the ones we did in Kendall Drive, putting those along the US 1 corridor. New landscaping. We had some conceptual drawings done years ago, and council adopted the conceptual plan, but we obviously haven't funded the project. So you want to try for that?
Sure.
Mayor, any feeling on it? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. All right, I'll just throw that in the mix, the US 1. Maybe I get lucky and finally get it funded. Yeah.
And then the other one I would put out there is existing things that we know will need money. They have labor, health, and human services education. And so perhaps we want to get Pinecrest Sprouts and the Pinecrest City Music Project funded, or at least a request in for that. We know it will continue and have.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Labor, health, and human services.
Labor, health, and human services, education, and related agencies. And there is a category called community project funding. So because the Sprouts and the Pinecrest City Music is a 501c3, we could request that community organization to get an earmark as part of the education component.
Okay,
Great idea.
awesome. Yeah, I like that.
I would push, I think a lot of what we do, like the She Jazz and some of the other arts programs and public arts programs are valuable, but I'm not seeing a category in the earmarks that fit.
I don't know why I thought there was something but that was from the National Endowment of the Arts.
Right. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that looks like public art or arts out of this, so.
Nothing for historical? ADA compliance, nothing like that?
Okay.
I wonder if I would consider that for infrastructure project.
Justice, science, defense.
Science? That
Science.
would probably be like research stuff.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
I mean, we'll have to go through, go into
Yeah,
it.
and I went through trying to think of things that we have that exist that can be spent and done, one and done by fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
That was the last one that came to me. I went through each and one of the letters, the Dear Colleague letters that
Right.
explained it.
Okay. All right. Well, if you think of anything else, just send it to me. I'm going to do the white papers. So the next question is, are you okay with us reinstating Alcalde and Faye, and so I can have them start working on some of this stuff for us, helping me?
Yossi, forgive me if I'm not familiar. Do they have a Tallahassee presence?
No, this is strictly for federal. This is not anything with state. So they have, I do believe they have people in Tallahassee if we wanted to, but the proposal that I asked for from them was specific to just the federal, because it had to do with this particular issue of the federal earmarks.
Is it of this meeting that we need Tallahassee as well? Because I think there's money coming out of Tallahassee.
So I had, in anticipation of trying to get money, like the proposals from the different federal lobbyists, I had reached out to Danielle Macbeth, who had been our liaison with Alcalde and Faye. turns out she's no longer with Alcalde and Fay, but in talking to her about what we were doing, she did comment that the state is also, they've gotten a big chunk of money. And that a lot of money likely will also come through the state, through grants and stuff like that. We're not in as much of a time crunch to get that paperwork in, because we still haven't gotten guidance from the state at all on any of that stuff. But you can anticipate that because they've gotten a lot of money as well, that in the short term, I would say in a couple months, we're gonna start seeing a lot of money rolling out and the ability to seek money from the state. So I think that, yeah, we should consider potentially getting back somebody that would be boots on the ground in Tallahassee to help us with the state stuff.
Well, if that's the, and you're considering that, I'm okay if you just go back to Mr. Fuentes and his firm. We did only have 2 that we were considering, and
For the
they were-
state.
yeah,
not
for the state.
Okay,
I think Alcalde and Fay, because you bid it and they're the cheapest, and they've been our historic lobbyists in Washington. And Fuentes, because they were they're next on our list, and they've been our historic lobbyists in Tallahassee, and we know them already, and we've already vetted them.
okay. And is everybody okay with that? I'll bring it to council anyway, because we have to, I gotta ask them for a proposal, or I think they did already. The proposal that they gave us, they did have a cost already attached to it. So I'll just dust that off, ask them if they are willing to still honor that proposal that you guys looked at earlier, like I guess in December, and then we'll go forward with that.
And this is, we have something very specific that we're shooting for, correct? I mean,
Well, in the state, I don't know what they're gonna have available, so we'll have to kind of do this exercise once I know what the state might do, because I have no idea what the state's gonna do, so I'm
all
just
right,
gonna
well,
get,
once we find that out, then we
and
can.
then we'll unleash, right? I need to do a little more research, because I have no idea what the state's gonna do and what money's gonna come and all that stuff. But I'll get our ducks in a row, and I'll let them know that we're gonna reinstate them. Okay. So formally in April, we'll waive competitive bidding to award to Alcalde and Fay for $4,000 a month to do our lobbying services, to help us with whatever is gonna happen up in Washington, okay? Okay. And then, I think that's it, Mayor. I don't have any other questions.
All right, anybody else got anything?
No, sir.
We're in good shape. I can feel the money raining down on us.
Knock on wood.
I like to stay positive, because you know how I always think, ain't gonna happen, but whatever. We'll
It's-
try.
I think it is worth recognizing that it's an extraordinary period in modern federal government history for there to be this much money coming from the federal government. It's, just the Rescue Act alone, is unprecedented to put that much money into the hands of state and local government.
Yeah, who would have thought? All right, so make
Silver
it rain.
lining. Thank you. So, all right, thank you, everybody.
Thank
All right,
you.
guys, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
And
Carlos,
thank
thank you so much.
you for your assistance.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Daniel.
Bye, Daniel.
Katie, I'm gonna give you a call now anyway, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.